How to deflect conflict effortlessly. To master the art of deflecting conflict effortlessly, you need to know 3 techniques. These techniques are crucial to master. By mastering these methods, you can effortlessly navigate through confrontations and maintain your inner peace in any situation. So let me tell you a Buddhist tale that will teach you how to deflect conflict with wisdom and grace. In a remote monastery nestled among misty mountains, there lived 2 monks. The older monk was known for his serenity and wisdom, while the younger monk was still learning the ways of Zen. The monastery was often visited by pilgrims seeking guidance, but among them were sometimes troublemakers who came to challenge the monk's teachings. The younger monk was troubled by these confrontational visitors, but he eventually came up with a solution. He thought, "Why not ask my elder for help to deal with these difficult people? He seems unfazed by their provocations, while I become agitated and lose my composure." After thinking about it, the younger monk approached his elder during evening meditation. He explained his dilemma. "Master, when visitors come with anger and challenging questions, I find myself becoming defensive and upset. My peace is disturbed for days afterward. How do you maintain your serenity in the face of such provocation?" The elder monk smiled gently at his disciple and replied, "My dear student, I will share with you my secret. When someone throws harsh words at you, you have a choice, to catch them or let them fall. I simply choose not to catch what is not beneficial to hold." The younger monk was intrigued by this perspective and began practicing this approach. They continued this practice for many days, with the elder monk guiding the younger one through various encounters with difficult visitors. One time, a renowned scholar came to the monastery. He was known for his sharp intellect and combative debating style that had humiliated many spiritual teachers. He came specifically to challenge the monk's understanding of Buddhist doctrine. Shortly after his arrival, he began questioning the elder monk with increasingly provocative questions designed to trap him in contradictions. The scholar noticed that no matter how provocative his questions became, the elder monk remained calm, sometimes responding with wisdom, other times with silence. Frustrated by his inability to provoke a reaction, the scholar finally asked directly, "Why do you not defend your teachings against my challenges? Are you admitting defeat by your silence?" In response, the elder monk simply stated, "Respected scholar, the birds do not stop singing because someone criticizes their song. Similarly, truth does not require constant defense." The scholar was taken aback by the elder monk's words and questioned how he could remain so unperturbed. The scholar asked, "Are you claiming to be above human emotions? Do you not feel anger when your beliefs are challenged?" In response, the elder monk said, "Esteemed scholar, I do feel emotions arise, just as clouds appear in the sky. But I have learned not to let these emotions become storms that darken my mind. When you aim words at me intended to provoke, I see them as passing clouds. I acknowledge their presence, but I need not engage with every cloud that appears in my sky." The scholar was left astonished upon hearing this wisdom. He was unable to comprehend how someone could choose not to be offended by deliberate provocations. He pondered, how can a person not defend themselves when attacked with words? How can they choose peace over proving themselves right? How can they remain so centered when deliberately provoked? The scholar felt the need to understand this profound teaching more deeply, and thus asked the elder monk, "Master, I have spent my life in intellectual debates, winning arguments through clever words and logical traps. Now I find myself defeated by your simple non-engagement. Please teach me this art of deflecting conflict." The elder monk's response was received with genuine curiosity by the scholar, who proceeded to listen attentively. The elder monk said, "The first step is to understand that not every invitation to conflict requires your attendance. Just as you would decline an invitation to a gathering that would not benefit you, you can decline the invitation to engage in unnecessary conflict." When the scholar heard this, He expressed doubt about its practicality in real-world situations. But surely there are times when one must engage, when silence would be seen as weakness or agreement with wrong views. The elder monk was filled with compassion and nodded in understanding. Yes, discernment is key. Not all situations warrant non-engagement. The Buddha taught us to speak when our words are true, beneficial, and timely. However, many conflicts that consume our energy are actually invitations to feed our ego, rather than opportunities for genuine exchange. The scholar had many questions in his mind and decided to ask the elder monk to get to the bottom of this teaching. Look, I understand the theory of what you're saying, but I've built my reputation on intellectual prowess. If I don't engage when challenged, won't I lose respect and influence? In response, the elder monk said, "Scholar, reputation based on winning arguments is like a house built on sand. True respect comes from wisdom, compassion, and integrity. These qualities shine more brightly when we choose our battles wisely." The scholar responded, "You speak of choosing battles wisely, but how does one make that determination? How do I know when to speak and when to remain silent?" The elder monk responded, "Before you speak, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If what you plan to say doesn't pass at least 2 of these tests, perhaps silence is the wiser choice. Additionally, observe your motivation. Are you speaking to clarify truth, to help others, or merely to defend your ego?" Hearing the monk's guidance, the scholar said, "You must give me practical examples. How do I apply this wisdom in daily life when faced with provocations?" The elder monk said, "Scholar, if you want the answer to this question, you will have to do me a favor." The scholar asked, "Tell me, what do I need to do?" The elder monk responded, "For the next week, whenever someone provokes you, count to 10 before responding. If after counting, you still feel the need to respond, then do so. But if the urge has diminished, allow the moment to pass in silence." The scholar was initially resistant upon hearing this, feeling it was too simplistic, but he eventually agreed to the request and promised to practice this technique for a full week. At that moment, the elder monk expressed another teaching. There is also great power in acknowledging without engaging. You might say, "I hear your perspective," or "I understand this is important to you," without entering into debate. Upon hearing this, the scholar became thoughtful and asked, "But won't people take advantage of my non-engagement? Won't they see it as weakness?" The monk then told the scholar, "What others think of your choice is their concern, not yours. True strength lies not in controlling others' perceptions, but in mastering your own responses. A tree doesn't argue when the wind blows. It simply remains rooted while bending with flexibility." The scholar is intrigued because everything the elder monk has said challenges his lifelong approach to intellectual discourse. Upon hearing this wisdom, the scholar immediately applied it when another visitor to the monastery tried to draw him into a debate. Instead of his usual combative stance, he practiced acknowledgement without engagement. The visitor eventually lost interest and moved on. Upon witnessing this, the scholar went back to the elder monk and asked, "How did you learn this wisdom? Was it taught to you, or did you discover it through experience?" The monk replied, "Scholar, it's quite simple. Early in my training, I exhausted myself with needless debates and arguments. I noticed that after each confrontation, regardless of whether I won or lost, I felt depleted. My meditation suffered, my compassion diminished, and my mind became clouded. One day, when a particularly difficult visitor came, I was too tired to engage. I simply listened and then continued with my duties. The visitor eventually left, and I realized I felt peaceful rather than drained. Now you tell me," he continued, "after your experiment today, how do you feel?" The scholar responded, "I feel strangely at peace." The visitor wanted to argue, but when I didn't participate in the way he expected, he soon tired of his own anger. It was as if I refused to add fuel to a fire, and it naturally burned out. The elder monk said, "You are quite wise. All right then, let's proceed." He added, "Answer one more question correctly, and I will share with you the final technique." The monk then asked, "Tell me, when someone insults you, who is in control? The one who speaks or the one who chooses how to respond?" To this, the scholar responded, "Previously, I would have said the skilled debater has control, as they can manipulate the conversation. But now I see that true control lies with the one who decides whether to engage at all." The elder monk responded, "Your answer shows wisdom. Remember that no one can force you to enter a conflict without your consent. Your reaction is always your choice." The scholar said, "I want to know more about this. How can I train my mind to maintain this awareness in the heat of the moment when emotions arise quickly?" The elder monk responded, "Scholar, I can tell you right now how to train your mind. But before that, I want you to promise that you will practice these techniques daily, not just understand them intellectually." The scholar said, "I promise to practice diligently." And then the elder monk shared his final teaching. The third technique is to observe your emotions without becoming them. When provocation arises, notice the first stirrings of anger or defensiveness in your body. Where do you feel it? Is it heat in your face, tension in your shoulders? Upon hearing this, the scholar began to pay attention to his bodily sensations in that very moment. He noticed tension in his jaw that he hadn't been aware of before. He asked, "Master, I notice tension in my jaw even now. What should I do with this awareness?" To this, the monk's response was gentle yet direct. Simply observe it without judgment, without trying to change it. With continued practice, the space between stimulus and response will widen. In that space lies your freedom to choose. Upon hearing this, the scholar is delighted and immediately begins to practice observing his physical sensations without becoming identified with them. He asked, "How long did it take you to master these techniques? Will I need many years of practice?" The elder monk replied, "Scholar, you have asked many meaningful questions, and I have shared what I know from my own experience. The time it takes to master these skills varies from person to person. For some, a moment of true insight is enough to transform their approach to conflict forever. For others, it requires consistent practice over time. The key is not to measure your progress, but to return to the practice each time you find yourself pulled into unnecessary conflict." The scholar bursts into gratitude and says, "Your teachings are like cool water to a thirsty traveler. I have spent my life mastering the art of conflict, only to find that mastering the art of peace is far more fulfilling. But tell me one last thing. How do I maintain this practice when I return to my normal life among people who value winning arguments above peace?" To this, the elder monk said, "Scholar, I am merely a fellow traveler on the path. The mind has its patterns, and these patterns can be reshaped through consistent practice. By observing your reactions to provocation, acknowledging them without judgment, and choosing your response with awareness, you can gradually rewire your habitual responses. Based on this understanding, you can navigate any social environment without sacrificing your inner peace. But I am curious, what will you do with this knowledge when you return to your academic circles?" The scholar asked, "So does that mean I should abandon intellectual discourse altogether? Is there no place for debate and the exchange of ideas?" To this, the elder monk said, "Certainly not. Intellectual discourse has its place and value. The key distinction is in your approach and motivation. When you engage from a place of curiosity rather than a need to prove yourself right, discourse becomes an opportunity for mutual growth rather than conflict. But your scholar, before that, you have to do one thing: focus your mind. When we focus our mind and bring our awareness fully to the present moment, we can engage with others from a place of clarity rather than reactivity. Only then can we discern which exchanges are worth our energy and which are better left alone. If we are clouded by the need to defend our ego, how will we know the difference between valuable discourse and needless conflict? Because we are trapped in our own narrative rather than truly listening. To know when to engage and when to step back, first and foremost, we need to focus our minds and bring them into the present moment. After that, we can pay attention to the quality of the exchange and decide wisely whether participation serves a higher purpose or merely feeds a cycle of conflict. After that, the elder monk told the scholar, "Your patience has been admirable. I will now summarize the 3 techniques by which you can effortlessly deflect conflict and maintain your inner peace." Then the monk says to the scholar, "O scholar, the first method is to recognize the invitation to conflict and consciously choose whether to accept it. The most important thing when someone attempts to draw you into an argument is to pause and ask yourself, is this exchange likely to be productive? Will it lead to greater understanding or merely to the reinforcement of existing positions? I don't engage in every debate myself, but I learned this skill from the revered Gautam Buddha many years ago. He was my teacher and guide. I used to eagerly jump into every philosophical debate, believing it was my duty to correct misunderstandings and defeat wrong views. But the Buddha taught me that time and energy are precious resources, and wisdom lies in knowing where to invest them. So if you also want to navigate conflict skillfully, you should first cultivate this discernment. Notice when someone's tone becomes aggressive, or when their words seem designed to provoke rather than understand. If their speech contains personal attacks or sweeping generalizations, it often indicates they are more interested in winning than in genuine exchange. But if they ask questions with sincere curiosity and listen attentively to your responses, they are probably seeking understanding rather than conflict. Also notice your own emotional state. If you feel a surge of anger, defensiveness, or a strong need to prove yourself right, these are warning signs that your ego, rather than your wisdom, is driving your desire to engage. When your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, or your thoughts race, these physical cues can alert you that you're being triggered into a fight or flight response rather than a thoughtful exchange. I remember a time when I encountered a visitor who came to the monastery specifically to challenge our practices. When we talked, his words were sharp and dismissive, never pausing to truly consider my responses. This showed that he was interested in attacking rather than understanding. I thought he might be carrying inner turmoil that had nothing to do with our teachings. Then I chose not to engage with his provocations. I acknowledged his concerns with phrases like, "I understand this is important to you, and I can see you've given this much thought." But I did not take the bait of defending our practices or trying to change his mind. Similarly, you can use phrases that acknowledge without escalating. "I appreciate your perspective," or "That's an interesting point to consider," or simply, "Thank you for sharing your thoughts." Your scholar, the second method for deflecting conflict is to master the power of the non-reaction. If you want to understand people's motivations better, you have to pay attention to the effect of your non-reaction. When you don't respond as expected to provocation, you can observe what happens next. When someone expects you to become defensive or angry and you remain calm, they often reveal more about their true intentions. If they genuinely seek understanding, they will adjust their approach. If they merely seek conflict, they will typically escalate their provocative behavior before eventually giving up. You can also develop certain inner practices that strengthen your ability to maintain composure. One powerful practice is to visualize provocative words as passing clouds that don't touch your essential nature. Another is to silently wish the other person well, especially when they are being difficult. This redirects your energy from defensiveness to compassion. I remember a time when I encountered an angry merchant who accused our monastery of hoarding resources. When we talked, he hurled accusations and expected me to react defensively. This showed that he wasn't interested in truth, but in venting his frustration. I remained calm and listened fully, seeing his anger as separate from his true nature. After he ran out of accusations, I simply asked, "What would help you feel better about this situation?" His anger dissipated when he realized I wasn't going to fight back, and we had a productive conversation about the monastery's relationship with the village. Your scholar, the face reveals much about our inner state. Even when we try to present a calm exterior, micro-expressions can reveal our true feelings. If you're genuinely at peace with your choice not to engage in conflict, your face will reflect that peace. But if you're suppressing a strong urge to respond, tension will show in your features. When you see someone whose forehead creases with tension and whose lips press tightly together, it usually means they are struggling with strong emotions they're trying to control. You can also tell by their breathing and their body posture if they are feeling threatened or defensive. On the other hand, a relaxed forehead, natural breathing rhythm, and open posture are signs of genuine ease and confidence. The eyes are very important in this. When they maintain steady, soft contact, rather than darting away or staring intensely, you can be sure that the person is comfortable with the situation despite any external conflict. Look at the overall congruence between what a person says and how their body responds. If they claim to be unbothered while their body shows signs of stress, such as a tight jaw, shallow breathing, or fidgeting hands, there is an internal conflict that hasn't been resolved. As you get better at observing these signs in yourself and others, you'll be able to navigate conflict with greater awareness. Whether you choose to engage verbally or maintain silence, your body will show what's truly happening in your heart. Whether a person speaks with their words or not, you can understand much from their physical presence. Scholar, I will tell you a story. One time, I met an agitated visitor who came to challenge our understanding of the Dharma. They presented their questions as academic inquiries, but their rapid speech, tense shoulders, and slightly raised voice revealed their emotional investment in proving us wrong. I saw these signs and chose to receive their questions with genuine curiosity rather than defensiveness. After I responded with calm interest, rather than matching their intensity, their body language gradually shifted, their shoulders lowered, their speech slowed, and eventually, we had a meaningful exchange of ideas. A genuine openness makes the entire face relaxed. It means the person is receptive and present. Tightness around the eyes and mouth means they are guarded or skeptical. The eyebrows draw together when they feel threatened or confused. You can navigate conversations more skillfully by observing these subtle cues in both yourself and others. Continuing, the elder monk told the scholar about the third method, saying, "Scholar, there is a third approach too, which is to transform your relationship with conflict entirely through the cultivation of an unshakable mind. To truly master the art of deflecting conflict, we must go beyond techniques of response to cultivate a mind that is not easily disturbed. When a person speaks with hostility or criticism, you may have noticed that your initial reaction involves not just thoughts, but physical sensations and impulses to action. In addition to conscious choices, your deeper relationship with conflict plays a significant role in determining how you respond. Scholar, the mind and body are deeply connected, and training one affects the other. It is like learning to balance on a narrow bridge where practice creates steadiness that eventually becomes effortless. Think about when someone speaks harshly to you. The untrained mind immediately moves toward either aggression or withdrawal, fight or flight. The body tenses, the heart rate increases, and thoughts narrow to focus on threat and defense. I remember a time when I met a powerful official who threatened our monastery with closure. In the past, such a threat would have triggered immediate panic and desperate attempts to change his mind. But through years of practice, I was able to meet his anger with equanimity. I noticed my initial impulse to become defensive, allowed it to arise and pass without acting on it, and responded from a place of centered awareness rather than reactivity. Also, when someone shows closed body language, crossed arms, averted gaze, increased distance, they might be protecting themselves from what they perceive as a threat. they are creating physical barriers that mirror their psychological defenses. This way of holding the body is an instinctive response to feeling unsafe or judged. By recognizing this sign, you can adjust your approach to create more safety in the interaction and make them feel more comfortable and open. When someone leans forward with an intent gaze and speaks with increasing volume and speed, they might be trying to dominate the conversation through physical presence. They are unconsciously attempting to make their perspective prevail through intensity rather than content. This way of engaging shows a strong need to be heard and acknowledged, often arising from past experiences of feeling dismissed or unimportant. I once met an elder from a neighboring village who approached me this way. He was very agitated, but instead of matching his energy or backing away, I remained centered and calm. I maintained relaxed eye contact, kept my breathing steady, and listened fully without interruption. Eventually, his intensity diminished as he felt truly heard, perhaps for the first time in that particular conflict. Sometimes people who repeatedly challenge the same point, even after you've addressed it, are revealing something important about their emotional state. It often means they don't feel resolved, even if the logical point has been addressed. These persistent returns to the same issue show you that something deeper than the stated content is at stake for them. To be good at transforming conflict from within, you must develop both external awareness and internal steadiness. These complementary qualities, like the two wings of a bird, allow you to rise above reactivity and navigate even difficult encounters with grace and wisdom. If we pay attention to these three methods and understand them correctly, we can quickly transform potential conflicts into opportunities for deeper understanding. How much tension we carry in our bodies, how we respond to provocations, and what's happening in our inner landscape during challenging interactions all reveal our true relationship with conflict. However, before mastering any technique, you have to focus your mind and bring it into the present moment. Only then can you pay attention to all these dynamics, understand them clearly, and respond with wisdom rather than reactivity. Otherwise, if you are preoccupied with thoughts about being right or fears of being wrong, you will never notice the subtleties of the interaction, and you will never navigate conflict with true mastery. You may have seen many great masters and enlightened beings who remain perfectly at ease when challenged or criticized, and can respond with wisdom that transforms conflict into understanding. The biggest reason for this is that they have trained their minds to remain centered and peaceful, regardless of external circumstances, and that's why they can effortlessly deflect conflict while maintaining compassion for all involved. As we come to the end of this Zen journey, Moon Mind Temple would like to express our deepest gratitude for your incredible support on this journey of wisdom.